And welcome back to Exit 1055. Last week, Governor Andrew Cuomo toured Long Island labs and businesses to find out whether a statewide regional economic competition for grant money the governor himself created is paying off with more jobs and innovation.
Something that in China they do it by hand, and they could, do it for a low price. Here in America, we've got to automate.
This afternoon, James Daddario proudly showed off his huge assembly plant in Farmingdale for Governor Cuomo. Last year, the governor's Economic Council team awarded Daddario's company $2 million. That to design and build automated equipment that his 800 employees now operate to make the Daddario guitar strings that are sold around the world. Daddario says because of the grant, he no longer has to import components or materials from Asia and South America. And that's meant more jobs locally. Harold Conklin was hired last year.
I think it's great. I think it's awesome. It's good to get some jobs back in America, right?
Cuomo's bus tour included Farmingdale State University, which is on this year's list for these economic awards. Farmingdale is vying for millions to expand its growing bioscience and robotics center. Afterward, the governor said Long Island's near the top statewide in getting the new grants because leaders in both Suffolk and Nassau have worked together to promote the region.
Rather than Albany telling Long Island what to do, we said, Long Island, you do what you think is best. One proviso: Long Island come together and speak with one voice.
And to figure this out some more, joining us now is Dr. Bruce Stillman. He's president of Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, and welcome to the show, Dr. Stillman.
Thanks very much.
Now, you've had experience with this regional council that the governor set up. Is it working?
Yes, I think it's working very well. I think the idea of having regional councils is great because you know in the local region what is best for your region. And I think it's another thing that's brought Long Island together, a lot of the institutions and companies, to really think about what we can do best.
Yeah, and there's so many efforts now. It's a multi-pronged thing. Your institution, yep. Farmingdale, Stony Brook, Hofstra, the North Shore LIJ, all of these institutions working in something called Accelerate Long Island. We've had people on talking about that. But they have, because of that experience, they've now managed to find ways to cooperate together to really kind of gang up on the governor's people. Do you think Long Island's made a good impression with the governor?
Yeah, actually, I think it was evident when the governor was here last week where he was very impressed with what's going on in Long Island, said so, and I think recognize the fact that we have these fantastic institutions.
You got some money for Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory last year. I think $2 million. What was that money used for?
Well, we got a grant for $2 million as part of this project, and it's part of our very broad cancer therapeutics initiative. That's going to be spending over $150 million when it's finished. We've already raised, as part of the sub-project of that, it raised another $20 million on top of the state money to build an advanced drug testing facility where our scientists will be able to test cancer drugs.
Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory is like the greatest laboratory that Long Islanders, many of them, never heard of or know very little about. It's been around a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, we were founded in 1890, so we've been around for 123 years. And we're rated #1 in the world in molecular biology and genetics by Thomson Reuters, which rates a lot of things.
Yeah, you've had how many Nobel Prize laureates lecture in your halls?
Well, we've had 8 Nobel Prize winners work at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, and we've had over 150 visit Cold Spring Harbor each year, over the years to speak and attend our conferences.
Including these year's winners for the Nobel Prize in Medicine. What did you think of the two winners' study saying that cellular structure could be reprogrammed?
Yes, well, that's a very, very important discovery and well deserved the Nobel Prize. I thought they should win the Nobel Prize for quite some time. And they have both been at Cold Spring Harbor, and in fact, John Gurdon, who's one of the recipients, is speaking at Cold Spring Harbor next February.
So, I mean, and the key to this, it's not just, wonk knowledge. If you can reprogram cells, then you can really combat some of these deadly diseases, something Cold Spring Harbor has been known for decades.
Yes. We focus mainly on neuroscience and cancer, plant biology. And in cancer, the program in cancer actually is really targeting a lot of the cells that are called cancer stem cells that grow inside our body abnormally.
So now, and you've had direct experience with this whole idea of creating a Silicon Valley East here on Long Island. I think it's OSI Pharmaceuticals was basically birthed by Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, and they came up with the drug, I think, Tarceva, you said, and that's very effective for treating lung cancer?
Yeah, so not only do we do very basic research that, as I said before, is highly rated and very important, but a lot of our technologies get transferred into industry. OSI Pharmaceuticals is one of them.
That's a private business now, right?
And it's a private business. It employs a lot of highly paid individuals on Long Island. And they developed a very important drug, as you said, for lung cancer, which has got around about $1.2 billion in market value.
Well, you know, in my 30 years, I've met many scientists, you know, and sometimes it gets, there's this culture clash. Yes. And I know a lot of the leaders have talked about changing the culture, because you can talk to a scientist who believes that research should be pure and that there should be no discussion of commercializing it. Do you think it's a compromise, as some of these folks have said?
No, I don't think it's a compromise. I think all of us go into science. I mean, you don't go into science to make money. You go into science because you have to have a passion for it. The best scientists do groundbreaking discoveries, and then they get ideas about how to translate that for the benefit of mankind.
So now you also are involved with Farmingdale State University with their bioscience park.
Yes.
Now you know OSI Pharmaceuticals over there, which was basically launched and created by Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory through a decade of this kind of thinking. And now the bioscience park has some ambitious goals that they're applying for the state economic money from. And you're co-founders with Farmingdale State University of that, are you not? What are the hopes there, and what would you want that money for?
Yes, in fact, I sit on the board of Broad Hollow Bioscience Park, and the goal is to spin off more companies out of the institutions on Long Island, Cold Spring Harbor, but also Stony Brook, Brookhaven, North Shore LIJ, and spin those companies off so that they can provide more jobs for people on Long Island and improve the economy there.
So you see it as a joint, you know, this is not, there is no conflict in science that leads to jobs for people.
We all scientists compete. This is a competitive business. We all compete for grants, and especially now where it's very tough to get grants. About 1 in 6 applications get funded through the National Institutes of Health. However, in the end, this is taxpayers' dollars going into supporting research and private philanthropy going into supporting research. And the end game is to help improve human health.
Well, you certainly had some of the great scientists at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. Of course, Dr. James Watson, the co-founder of the identifying the double helix structure of DNA, which was a huge breakthrough.
Yes.
In cancer, you have been known for that at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. Do you expect any major breakthroughs soon? People always ask, when are we going to see the cure to cancer? You expect that?
Well, one of a major discovery or series of discoveries since the human genome was sequenced about 10 years ago is that we are now talking about precision medicine. We can identify subsets of patients who have cancer and target specifically those patients. This is going to advance clinical trials much faster than it had in the past, and we already have drugs. In fact, Tarceva is one of those precision medicines. Well,
it's very interesting, and you know, things are happening quickly now, and we certainly wish you success in the pursuit of these lofty goals. Dr. Bruce
thank you
Stillman,
very much.
Thank you for joining us today, President of Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. And before we go, we'll take a look at what's ahead for you this week on Long Island.